4 sites, each different, each making their own unique contribution to the natural world, each doing so with the help of funding from WREN's Biodiversity Action Fund. This is Sutton Fen in Norfolk, described as the most pristine example of peat fenland in Europe. Now, thanks to a £250,000 grant from WREN, its future is secure.
It may not look like it, but Sutton Fen is an example of a human-engineered landscape. Dug out for peat hundreds of years ago, over the centuries it's reverted back to fenland. But now, human intervention's having an impact on this landscape once again. This time though, for the benefit of nature.
What happens on fen is that over time it becomes drier and drier, and then eventually scrub in the form of young willow and alder start to encroach. And we tend to find that in those areas of relatively young scrub, the biodiversity value is quite poor. So as part of the project we're going to remove about 10 hectares of young scrub, and by cutting that down and removing it from the site, we allow the site to return to conditions that it would have been in 60 or 70 years ago of more open fen. And that open fen supports a fantastic range of plants, animals, birds, you know, a massively long list of things that will benefit from scrub removal.
This is an absolute gem. This is of European world importance. It's pristine, and the WREN contribution will be the start of the removal of the scrub to try and get that delicate balance which maintains the biodiversity of fenland.
Just as Sutton Fen is changing back to its traditional state, 30 miles away on the North Norfolk coast, another environment is reverting back to nature.
The RSPB reserve at Titchwell in Norfolk was one of the first sites to benefit from WREN funding. Here, an ambitious coastal change project has seen the sea defences breached, creating a new habitat of salt marshes and lagoons inside the reserve.
The great benefit to this project has been, as well as gaining new areas of salt marsh, we've been able to create new areas of reed bed and protect the existing freshwater reed bed areas. The areas where we've allowed the sea back in is already attracting some species that use the reserve, and they're starting to colonise that area, and it will be the next couple of years that we'll really start to see birds moving into this area and using it more frequently. The WREN funding has been absolutely fundamental, and the benefits for the reserve have been huge. Without the funding, we wouldn't have been able to construct a new sea wall, which is protecting our freshwater habitats, which are so vital for the special wildlife that we have at Titchwell.
Back on the coast, but 100 miles north of Titchwell, Yorkshire Wildlife Trust is meeting the challenge of rising sea levels in the outer Humber estuary. The Trust has made a successful application for funding that will help protect 7,000 hectares on the very edge of our landscape.
What we aim to do with this project is to provide connectivity between the pockets of habitat that we have on some 33 miles of the north bank of the Humber, and it's to join those up to allow species to move and migrate between them. What we hope to achieve after the 3 years of this funded bid is that we have coastline communities and farmers on board managing this salt marsh for biodiversity, but also to aid their HLS bids, their agro-environmental schemes, so to prove to them that we can all work together and work for nature and landscape.
From the sea to the dry heathland of Breckland, here some of the £5 million awarded so far in WREN grants nationwide is being used for a restoration project vital to the survival of rare species of butterflies and moths.
Well, here at Cranwich Heath, the WREN funding has enabled us to create a wide variety of different bare ground treatments which will benefit species such as the lunar yellow underwing moth, which likes grass tufts surrounded by bare ground. It will also benefit the grizzled skipper butterfly and the dingy skipper butterfly, which are present here, the grayling butterfly, and a whole host of moths which are present in the grass heath. The WREN funding is vital to this project because it's enabled us to work at a landscape scale, creating bare ground habitats for a variety of different butterflies and moths across perhaps a dozen sites across the Norfolk Brecks.
These projects and many more are already benefiting from WREN's Biodiversity Action Fund, but millions of pounds worth of grants are still available.
WREN is a not-for-profit business which funds community, heritage and environmental projects across the UK. The funds are donated to WREN by the waste management company Waste Recycling Group Limited as part of the Landfill Communities Fund.
The government introduced a landfill tax in 1996, where a proportion of waste on every tonne of waste that comes into these landfill sites is levied for the Chancellor. However, as a landfill operator, we're able to reclaim a small percentage of that money, and we can then give it to organisations like WREN, who can fund worthy causes.
WREN's Biodiversity Action Fund is a 5-year annual programme which has committed £10 million towards funding biodiversity enhancements.
The judgment periods start in January and are finished by spring. So get your applications in January, ready for an award in spring and early summer.
I wouldn't think about applying, I'd just apply. The funding has been absolutely essential in opening many doors for other funding and allowing us to protect the habitats here for the future. And without the funding, the project wouldn't have been possible, and Titchwell would be a very different place without it. The work that we've done has meant that Titchwell's got a future for the next 50 years.
Without the WREN funding, this project would not take place. And it's not just the monies, it's the scale of which we wanted to take it on. And that money has allowed us to develop a project of scale which will bring about real ecological benefit on the north bank of the Humber.
There's more information about the Biodiversity Action Fund on WREN's website, or applicants are welcome to contact WREN directly at WREN House, either by email or by telephone. We have one annual deadline every year, which is at the end of January. So if anybody has any queries, they're welcome to get in touch before that date.